Guys, thanks for stopping by. As promised, today's video is installing the Bushkins side steps. So as you can see, we've already got those fitted up. The process is pretty straightforward. 6 bolts either side. There's a couple of little things that are worth pointing out that'll make your job easier. So if you're interested, stick around and I'll take you through it. Now I am happy to report that we have our 12 bolts and we have 2 washers per bolt, and we've obviously got nylock nuts as well. It's good to see 2 washers, so 1 for either side. So that means there's going to be 1 on the side of the bolt head and 1 on the side of the nut, which is good to see. They're both marked. Passenger side, driver side. So what you need for the job, obviously you want a ratchet, a socket of 13mm and a 13mm spanner for putting on the new bolts that come with the new side steps, with the Bushkin stuff. And the original stuff you're going to need a 12 and a 14mm socket, and just an extension. I used that one there, which is probably around about 3 inches. That'll get you out of trouble. The thing is that the bolt heads on the end ones, you can see the size of those. They look like they're probably about a 14 or something. Or if we come back to this one, that's a smaller bolt. That's actually a 12. So that's the 12 fitting on there. And as expected, those end ones are a 14. So grab yourself a 14 and a 12 and you're good to pull these down. Might undo these ones first, and then I can effectively have it hanging on the middle, which will make it easy to drop on my own. Now for the passenger side, at the rear, they're probably going to need a short extension socket, at least for the 14mm. That little bracket there, I've got no idea what that does, but that's going to get in the way. Okay, and the ones at the front for the passenger side are also 14mm. Now the only challenge here has been that top bolt here at the front on the passenger side so far, mainly because there's not a lot of room to move and you're only getting a little bit of movement out of your ratchet, so take your time with that one. Surprisingly enough, there hasn't been a lot of tension on any of these bolts at all. I've been surprised how little tension was actually on them. Okay, so I've got those bolts undone at the front, I've got those ones undone at the rear. You can see how much flex and stuff there is in this. And obviously there's a side step, but you do stand on these. Those middle bolts are still done up, and that's just bending and moving pretty good. Interestingly enough, on the middle bracket, the bottom one is actually the bolt that will come out from the other side, so it's a fixed nut under the bracket itself. But at the top, the bracket actually has the bolt up there. So we'll actually be removing the nut from up the top and the bolt from down the bottom. So don't get confused, both do come off from the one side. I thought the bolt head sticking out was going to stop us getting under that nut, but we have got enough depth in that to fit on a BUT. And just at the back of the middle bracket, you'll find there's just a little bolt going in there as well. We'll need to undo this so we can slide the whole bracket rearward and get that bolt out, and then the jobs are good. So this one here at the back, a 12mm also. Now when you're undoing this one here at the back, make sure you've got an extension. I think that's probably about a 3-inch extension there, and you'll see, luckily enough, there is actually a nice little cutout there that the extension can go through that bracket, so you can actually get to that bolt. So nicely done for a change. Now just a piece of advice, when you start doing this, this is the middle of the passenger side, leave this one to last. This is actually a bolt that's actually attached to the actual side step itself, rather than the bolts going into the side step. So if you leave this to last and don't undo the nut off of this until last, you'll actually find you can leave this hanging, and then you can use that to support the weight of the side steps, or you undo all your other bolts, and then you can drop it down just by lifting it out. Okay, so there's the middle one on. So what I've done is pretty much just reversed the process that I did to get the old one off, in that I've lifted it up and got the middle bolt through and just tighten them up a little bit, they're still loose, as you can see there, so it'll give me wiggle room on the other ends. But that's how I did that. I have seen guys support these with shop jacks and stuff like that. But what I actually do, and your mileage will vary, is, of course I'm only a little fella, I can get under, put the knee up against the back and hold it up and hold that in place like that, work with the hands and get those bolts through and get them tightened up. So it looks like getting them on is going to actually be a lot quicker than taking the old ones off. Now all of the bolts I've put in from front to back, as you can see there. I figured rather than having the actual bolt sticking out the front and being something to possibly catch on something, I would have the bolt head at the front and the rest of the bolt pointing at the back. The only exception to that is the driver's side front. So basically under the driver's side door, because there is that bracket there and I couldn't get the ring spanner up there, I had to reverse that, put the bolt through the opposite way to what I've done everything else, so I could actually get the ring spanner on this side and use the ratchet and the extension to get up to the bolt head there. Everything else is as you see it there, with the bolts coming from front to back. And you can see the rear there, and the passenger side is exactly the same. So that is it. The side steps are on. And you can see I've still got the stickers on the front, so they can come off. Maybe. Bugger. I hate that. Nothing shits me more than stickers, to be honest. There's the side steps, so you can see they come up nice and close to the body. Under there. They are coming right to the front here. At the front guard. Also they're coming right to the rear there as well. Keeping in mind these tyres are they're the 18 inch and they're the 275/65s. So I had to make some modifications to the front so they cleared. They're effectively close enough to a 33 inch tyre. They are a big wheel and they do fill those guards pretty well. And so I have taken the mud guards off here. They're at the rear, and the guards that would normally be at the front there as well. And obviously that's the driver's side. So overall guys, probably call it an hour and a half. Take your time, maybe 2 hours. If you've got somebody else to give you a hand and give you a lift, that might cut that time down a little bit. But ultimately it's just 6 bolts aside. 6 to remove the original factory stuff, 6 to put back in for the new ones. The bolts are a little bit long. They're probably a few, 2 and a bit inches long. So it's quite a bit of spinning of the ratchet. If there's any feedback I could give, it would be that maybe we could use some shorter bolts that would just shorten the time up as far as having to tighten up the bolts in tight areas. But ultimately that's no biggie really. Maybe another suggestion is, rather than sticking a sticker on these, which are a pain in the backside to get out, chuck one in, same as Boo's bash plates did, and I would have been happy to slap that on the back of the car and advertise. Come back from a run around the block just to do a rattle test. We hit a number of speed bumps at speed, that's what they're for, just to test everything out, and happy to report that everything is rock solid. Nothing going anywhere. I have tightened the absolute snot out of these. Certainly a hell of a lot tighter than the original equipment is. I'm happy to report I seem to have lost a rattle in the meantime. So I'm not sure whether, if you've got any rattles, might be worth getting under and checking whether your side steps, your original equipment, is actually tight. That's it for this one guys. That's the Bushkins side steps for the Pajero here. This is the NT. later on this weekend. Probably tomorrow we're going to get around to doing the booze bash plate for the fuel tank. So stick around if you want to see that one. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.